And we're live. Welcome to Music Matters with Jason Tramm, and thank you so much for joining us for our unique podcast community, where we explore the triumphs and challenges of the performing arts world as seen through the eyes of distinguished artists. Thank you so much for helping our community grow. We hit 1,788 subscribers today, and we grow every day thanks to people like you who watch our show, share our videos, make sure you leave a like, and subscribe to us on YouTube and smash that bell icon for the most up-to-date information on our upcoming guests and topics. Here on Music Matters, we explore a variety of genres from classical to contemporary and everything in between. And it's always amazing what we can learn when we have these conversations back and forth. So also remember, you can join us in the chat feature and ask questions with our guests, and I'll bring it up on the air. We love that too. Join that conversation. To see our over 250 past episodes, check out our website at www.jasontram.net. Again, that's www.jasontram with two M's.net. Today's guest is a superstar in the opera world. Noted Greek coloratura soprano Christina Poulitsi joins us, and she sings Queen of the Night and many other roles in the most distinguished and important opera houses in the world. She made her career early working with Maestro Zubin Mehta, one of my heroes, and collaborated many times with him as well, and sung Queen of the Night in many of the most prestigious opera houses in the world. I'll give you a few: Teatro Opera di Roma, the Bolshoi Theater, Deutsche Oper Berlin, Seattle, Paris, all over the world. And we're delighted she can join us today. So welcome, Christina.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
It's great to have you here joining us from Athens. And I got to meet you virtually through another podcast with my dear friend Maria Zoe and Sonny Boy Dladla and their Atelier de l'Excellence. And I just was so inspired by what you had to say. And I'm so glad you can join us today.
Thank you.
It's a
pleasure.
Oh, pleasure's all mine. Did you always know you wanted to be an artist?
Yes. I always knew that I want to be a singer, actually. Not an opera singer, for sure, but the singing was a natural way for me to express myself from the day that I remember myself.
Do you come from a musical family?
I come from a musical family, but not professionals. I mean, I come from a family that loves music a lot. And in my home, there was always music. And not just casually listening to music, but really enjoying it. And I remember with my father when I was young, we would just be in the living room and listen to music, the only thing to do.
What were some things you might have listened to back then? What are some of the things you remember?
We listened a lot to Greek, famous Greek composers like Hatzidakis and Theodorakis. It was really nice music that I think it was a very smooth way to attract a child to really make it appreciate music.
Fantastic. And when did you do your first performance that you can remember?
You mean, because I started in a choir, so when I was...
As a choir director, that's a great place to start.
Yeah. I was 17 years old, not too young, because initially, although I knew I wanted to be a singer, I started when I was 5 years old, music, guitar and piano, but then I wanted to become a composer. So I had 6 years of studies and 3 diplomas. But after that, I decided that I want to become a singer. So when I was 17 years old, I started lessons, opera lessons, and I also sang at choirs. I remember I was in a choir singing in a production of The Magic Flute, and I was always behind the scenes looking to the singers and imagining myself to be on stage and singing one of the roles. But I always thought of Pamina. I never knew that I will have such high notes. So
I love that.
In the end,
That's fantastic. Thinking of like it's so important. I'm doing a production of La Boheme, and we have a very talented young chorus with lots of excited young people. And I'm like, and I was one of those people, and I became a conductor. But that's where you learn and watch, and that's like it was magic for me as a young person too. So it's great to hear that someone like yourself is back there watching and learning. It's a great advice for anyone who's got aspirations to be on the stage.
And it was, I think choir is a great school for every profession in the field of music. It trains your ear, and it makes you more responsible musician. And something very nice that happened back then. It was that production that Tamino was Michael Trost, and when I became myself a professional opera singer. One of my first engagements were at the Semper Oper in Dresden in Germany. So I had some rehearsals with a Korean from Korea, a tenor from Korea, and then for the second performance, a new tenor came in. So I saw him for the first time on the stage. It was a very special production with a lot of makeup and a very weird costume. So it wasn't very easy to understand who he is. But I go on stage on my first aria as the Queen of the Night, and I see Michael Trost. And that was so emotional for me because, like, years ago, I was in the choir and looking at him and wishing to sing with him, and that came true.
Well, you work hard, and all that discipline and hard work pays off, and that's incredible. What a great story! And how did you find that you had that coloratura range? Did you have a great teacher? How did you make that transition to coloratura?
When I started lessons on opera singing, I actually most of the Greeks, the voice is not very well positioned because of our language. The position of our language is a lot behind, so it doesn't help us a lot. And when I started my studies here in Athens, I never thought that I will be a coloratura soprano because I didn't have a lot of high notes or coloraturas from nature. But when I went to Berlin and I studied at the University of Arts in Berlin, my teacher there, the first time that she listened, she heard me, she told me, "You know that you're a coloratura soprano?" I said, "No." I can't sing coloraturas. How can this be? And she said, "Trust me, we will work every day for 2 months, and I promise you that you can sing this repertoire." And she was right.
Oh
Like
boy,
a
was she
door
right!
opened. Yeah, like a door opened and a whole octave came. I could sing much higher than the F of the Queen of the Night. And of course, after hard work, I could sing coloraturas, and I felt like at home with my voice finally.
How long did it take to get to get the technique grounded so you felt comfortable up there in the stratosphere?
Yeah, in 2 months, the notes, they all came. But of course, in order to say that it becomes yours and you own it, I needed 1 year or two.
Yeah, that makes sense to get that in the body and then to get the role
Yes,
comfortable. And
exactly.
how soon after that did you do your first Queen of the Night?
It was a year after that. A
Wow.
year after my first lesson with my teacher in Germany. At the beginning, I started singing Zerbinetta, Olympia, and this kind of roles. And then I remember I was studying Amina in La Sonambula, and my teacher suggested me to end the cabaletta with a high F. I told her I cannot sing this note, and she said, "Trust me, try." And I opened my mouth and I could hold it for 5 bars, and I will never forget this moment in my life.
Neither will the audience, I'm sure. That's exciting. So what was it like the first time? Where did you do your first Queen of the Night? That's a role that you become
Oh,
very famous for. Tell us about your first Queen of the Night performance.
yeah. I was studying at the University of Arts in Berlin. It was a 2-year master degree, and in the end of the first year, I decided to start doing auditions. Just to get more experience, so that when I finish my studies, to be already experienced. But in the second audition, I got an offer from a small theater in Dresden, the Landesbühnen Sachsen, and they offered me a 2-year contract. And one of the roles that I had to sing was the Queen of the Night. And I decided to do it and sign the contract because it was close to Berlin, so I could combine my studies and my work, and that's what I did. So that was in October 2010, my first Queen of the Night in this small theater. And I remember, because I was living in Dresden at that time, I was passing by the Semperoper. It was the big state opera of Saxony. And I was wishing, and I was saying, just one performance. I want just one performance in this theater. So after some months, I took part in an international competition in Vienna, and I won the first prize. And in the audience, there was a person who came to congratulate me afterwards. And he told me, I'm not a musician myself, but I have a very good friend who is a very good musician. And if he says that you are good, I can help you find an agent. And yeah. So I asked him, who is your friend? And he said, Zubin Mehta. And of
A
course,
very
my
good
jaw
musician for
dropped.
sure. Wow.
Yeah, and he was kind enough to organize for me an audition for Maestro. He was conducting at the moment in Munich. So I went to Munich and he listened to me. And he was excited. He liked me very much, and he asked me, where do you live? I said, in Dresden. Ah, you're singing at Semperoper. I said, no, Maestro, I'm singing in a small theater. And he said, but you should sing at the Semperoper. And I said, yes, I would like it too.
Very much.
So he wrote a recommendation letter. He wrote a recommendation letter for me at the Semperoper, and they invited me for an audition because they were in need of a Queen of the Night. And so my freelance career started, thanks to Maestro Mehta. And from that first performance at Semperoper, after that I've done like more than 100 performances at this theater only.
Wow. 100 for the Semperoper. Wow. It's one of my favorite theaters and such a legendary place.
It's amazing. The acoustic is brilliant in this house. And the house itself is very beautiful.
Was that your first internationals, like fully international stage?
Yes.
What was
exactly.
it like? What was it like making your debut backstage with the colleagues? What did it feel like getting on that stage? Do you get nervous when you perform?
I remember because it wasn't a new production. It was a production that was being played for a lot of years. So we didn't have a lot of rehearsals. And I remember I go to the first rehearsal, and the assistant director, she tells me, okay, you will do that, and then you do that. In 2 minutes, she told me everything. So go. And I was like, oh, sorry, what happened? It was something too much for me. But, I think as a professional opera singer, you have to be very quick. You have to learn very fast. And it was definitely a big lesson for me.
What advice do you have for young people coming into the business today? You obviously were well prepared. You work very hard. I mean, just meeting you on the last podcast, I got a sense of your discipline and how hard you work in your field. What advice do you have for young people coming up in the field these days?
A lot of young people that they're starting their careers, and it's nice from one point of view. They come with a lot of dreams and a lot of also sometimes they think that they are better than other people and other professionals. So one advice would be, keep always your feet on the ground and your eyes on the stars. You always have to be determined and know what you want to do in your life and keep your dream alive. A lot of people, they're going to tell you that you cannot do this or you cannot do that. You are the only person, you know what you're capable of. But at the same time, really be grounded, because the whole field of the opera is a field that can um, can make you lose your center, because we're giving a lot of energies, and from we're giving a lot of our energy to the audience, but we meet with a lot of people. So take time for yourself to regenerate, and keep your eyes on the stars.
That's great advice, and that kind of keep yourself grounded. How much of a team do you have as a singer? Do a lot of the singers I have coaches, teachers, ears that listen to them, because the voice changes over time. How important is that team sense for you?
It's very important, actually, because there are a lot of opinions, and if you try to depend the judgment you have for yourself on these opinions, you will really end up not knowing who you are. I believe that you must have one, two, three people top, that you trust their opinion, and that was it. One of them must be your teacher, your vocal teacher. He will be the one that he knows you from a baby. He taught you your first steps, so you can do mistakes, and he will never judge you. So we need a vocal coach, because we don't hear our voice as exactly it is actually. That's why when we listen ourselves to from a video, we always get annoyed, or we don't like our voice, because we are listening to it internally and not exactly how it is being produced. So you need someone else that is outside of you to listen to you and tell you exactly what you have to correct. And doing that through a recorder, it's not the same, because the sound always, it's not exactly like the live sound. And of course, because our instrument is in our bodies, and it is biologically um, is matures like our bodies, you always have to keep working and readjusting yourself and your technique, so that you keep up with the maturity of your body. And that's why you need a vocal coach for the rest of your life. Although of course, it comes a time that you know exactly what you're doing, but it always changes this.
I think that's a fascinating discussion. I've had that with some singers who've been in the business for a very long time. I also have younger singers on the program and everything in between. And I'm always fascinated by that, how the voice changes, and the singers who are really smart over their careers, how they're constantly shifting roles, how they're shifting the way they approach the roles. Now, you've done Queen of the Night for many years. How has that role changed for you?
Yeah, Queen of the Night is a very special role. It combines the very high notes and the coloraturas, but with a very dramatic expression at the same time. So I remember in the first years, because she's a mean role, she's the evil
She is not a
stepmother.
happy camper. I would say in America.
Yes, I was trying too hard to be to be bad, to be evil. And then after some experience that I got, I realized that actually you need less in order to make a bigger effect. You need really small gestures, a small movement of your pinky finger in order to surprise your audience. Or, for example, at the dialogue before the second aria, you don't need to shout. You need to be calm because people are expecting you not to be calm and are expecting you that you are furious. And if you come on stage and you're really calm, and then at one point you just, change the atmosphere, then you surprise your audience. And that came by experience and by many, many times that I've sung this role.
How many performances have you done? If you had to guess, how many performances? How many would you say?
Now I'm about 250, something like this.
Almost an entire year of Queen of the Night. That's amazing.
Yeah.
If you can meet the composer, now you've studied composition, what would you ask Maestro Mozart if you could sit down with him and talk about this opera, which you know as well as anyone alive?
You mean about my role or generally?
Just up to you.
Oh my God, it's a very nice question. I would like to ask him what exactly was his intention behind these coloraturas. I mean, the way he has composed it, it's so difficult to sing it. And it's like he was furious at the soprano. So I would like to ask him how he would like to listen to these coloraturas. What was his purpose?
It's always interesting. I wish I could have heard the first singer who sang it, right? Because he wrote it for a very specific person, and that must have been very good in her voice. Apparently, the coloratura was just changed all of music because people were like, "You can do that? That's great! That's an effect we never thought about including in an opera."
But we must not forget that the tuning by time has changed, and now we are singing much higher than it was composed at the beginning.
Good point.
It's like breaking world records every time. So nowadays, it's even harder to sing it.
Good point. Yeah, the tuning has changed and it's gotten a little higher. So every half step makes an incredible difference when we're training the voices. It's like di quella pira for the poor tenors.
After 10 years of singing it, I sang it 12 years. I sang it this last summer with period instruments.
Wow.
And that was a big experience for me. The difference is small, but for our throats, it's a very big difference. And it was a totally like another piece of work.
Interesting. So the lowered pitch, did the musculature feel different? Did it feel strange?
It was of course much easier for the coloratura. I mean, it was easy for the coloraturas, but for the first lyrical parts of the first aria or some parts of the second aria, the low notes were much were felt much lower than they are. So I needed to adjust some things there.
That's really interesting. We have a question from the audience, from the audience, and get going with the questions, folks. Feel free to join in. We get a lot of people watching. First one is, what are some of your most memorable performances of the role? And I'm going to dig deeper and, obviously give us some of your most memorable, theaters that your conductors you've worked with, but also some of the most interesting and kind of offbeat. Sometimes productions can be very fascinating. Have you had any, really interesting, costumes and some of the most fascinating productions?
Yeah, the first that comes in my mind is the iconic production of David Macvicar at the Royal Opera House in London. I had the opportunity to sing the Queen of the Night there and to wear this beautiful dress. But the thing that I enjoyed most was the dialogue before the second aria. It was the longest dialogue I've ever spoken before, so I had a real opportunity to make something from my role, because the Queen of the Night, she comes on stage like for 10 minutes total, the whole night, and sometimes you feel you don't have the opportunity to make a role from that. But I remember I enjoyed it really, really much, this production. I remember one night when I was singing at the Deutsche Oper in Berlin, everything was uh, perfect. Actually, I was feeling very good with my voice. My psychology was very high. The audience was very warm. Everything was like in tune. And I remember I enjoyed so much the role that I was feeling in my blood, under my skin, the power of this woman. It was really
Wow.
amazing. And the last one that I did, no, more, two more. They're
Please.
not from the Queen of the Night. They are from other roles. It's from Gilda Rigoletto. I sang this under the baton of Maestro Meta in Florence, and I remember after my Caro Nome, the audience, they didn't clap immediately, or sometimes they clap before. It was so magical, that moment, that it was like seconds, that it was total stillness, and then a big applause. And I don't know, these are the moments that we feel, audience and the artists, we feel like one, like we are one person.
That's beautiful.
It's a
Wow.
magic moment.
You get the
And of
audience
course,
is so excited by that, and they to take that second to process what they've heard and then to erupt. That
exactly,
must have been exciting.
And
Wow.
of course, taking on stage Maestro Met and kissing your hands, it was a magical moment for me. I wanted to take a picture with my eyes and never forget that. And
Especially
in
he
the
was so important in the, opening the door to that first opportunity, and that must have been really
yes,
special.
yes, very much. And I also had the opportunity to sing the role of the Lucia di Lammermoor in the production of Katie Mitchell, which I loved. It was a co-production of the Royal Opera House in London and the Greek National Opera. And I remember in the end, there was a bath on stage with real water.
Wow.
Thank God it was warm enough. And I was in the water, in the bath, and I had just killed myself. So I had to stay dead on the stage for a long time until the opera ends, because in bel canto the tenor always closes the opera. So I remember I was there with my eyes closed, and I was telling to myself how grateful I was feeling for being able to sing this role in this production. It was really deep appreciation and gratefulness.
Wow. Any what's the craziest costumes you've worn in your many travels on the stage? You've had.
Ah,
I
yeah,
always
a
love
lot
that.
of capes, a lot of capes, a lot of black, blue. Um, I think one of the craziest was at Zempa Oper, the production of Aikim Freya. It was actually a jumpsuit that was half black and half red, with very, very high heels. Um, this last December, I did a new production of The Magic Flute at the Opéra Nationale de Lorraine in France, and it was the first time for me that I was flying and singing, and
Wow.
I had yeah,
From someone who's
I
been
must
soaring
admit,
for years up in the stratosphere, now you get to actually fly. That's
yeah.
great.
Yeah, I enjoy it very much at the rehearsals. I have no afraid of heights, so I really enjoyed it. But when the costume came, it was so heavy and it was so big that I must admit it was difficult. It wasn't very easy, but it was very nice, to see. Very Yeah.
I'm always fascinated, by the way, even in a role like I've conducted probably Traviata 30 times. I just love that, when you know a show and you've done it a lot, how it changes over time and how you kind of, it's like looking at a great painting. Every time I look at it, I get a kind of slightly different view, a little bit different perspective. And I'm older at the time. Do you feel like that role keeps offering you something, that keeps on giving you something different?
Yes, I'm surprised by that because I thought that I've seen everything from this role, but especially the role of the Queen of the Night is a role that can have a lot of different facets in each production. You can find something different on this role in comparison to Tamina or Pamina, where in each production, more or less, they have the same character. The Queen of the Night can be a lot of things. So I've been the evil force, I've been the mad stepmother, I've been the loving mother, which really is in pain. I've been an animal, uh, a queen. It's a lot of characteristics that she has.
It's a
But
fantastic allegorical story, and it can be very colorful. So there's such possibility, and that's what makes working with directors and these productions must be very interesting to see different takes and different ideas.
yeah, of course. I'm always curious.
Well, then it's obviously you have a very deep intellectual curiosity, and you're always searching to make it deeper. So, how about the other roles you've played? Some of the other great roles. I see Lucia de Lammermoor. I see Rigoletto. I see also La Traviata. How have your voice grown into these roles?
Yeah, actually, my voice now is very comfortable in bel canto, in Italian opera, and I've sung, as you said, Lucia de Lammermoor, Gilda, Traviata, Amina, in La Sonnambula, and it has grown. I'm a pure lyric coloratura soprano, and I enjoy very much also the big lines, the lyrical phrases, apart, of course, from the fireworks of the coloraturas.
That's wonderful. So now, with all of your years on the stage and your career, what are some roles that like you have in the sights for the future?
Yeah, it's a role that I've sung in concert, but I would definitely want to sing it also on stage. It's the role of Constanze in Mozart's Entführung from Sarai. But I would definitely would like to sing Traviata as many times as I have sung Queen of the Night, because I love it.
Such great music. We have some
Yeah.
questions. How do you keep yourself? Career in opera is so demanding. You have to. There's so much travel. There's so much. It's just keeping the voice healthy, keeping the body healthy. How do you keep yourself focused and positive, and able to give your best on all these performances?
Our profession is very hard, and we are like athletes, and we must be very disciplined. We must keep our body healthy. So we have to have not to extremes, but you have to sleep well and eat good and exercise. But you also have to take care of your soul too, because as I told in the beginning, you give a lot of yourself and you get distracted very easily. So you can easily feel empty and not have any any energy left to give to the audience. So you must not uh, work too much. You must always take time for yourself and do things that they regenerate you. I have worked a lot with myself, not only on terms of meditation to find my balance and my center, but also, I mean, I read a lot of books regarding psychology and how energy works inside us, and about relationships. It's very important to learn how to communicate with empathy, but at the same time make your point. And these are very important things, I think, for a career, because in order to do a career, not the talent, it's not enough, and the hard work, it's not enough from itself. You need to have the whole package, and this whole package has to be, you have to be clever regarding how you promote yourself, not too much but not too little. And in the end, never forget why you first started doing this, which is the love of making music, and the inner need you have to express yourself. Sometimes, we forget it.
It's so important to, that is ultimately the most important thing. If you don't love it, the audience can't love it either, and it's not sustainable, right? It's the music fuels you, it keeps you charged, it keeps you energized, and that's so important. Thank you for sharing that.
You know, when you are a professional in this field, you are sometimes you feel not an artist but like an athlete. Like that, some people, they come and they judge you, and you have to sing the perfect note, and you have to have the perfect phrasing, and you feel like people are in the audience with guns ready to shoot when you don't sing perfect. But this is a pressure that every singer feels. But in the end, you must really take that on the side, and really sink there for the people, for in order to reach the hearts of the people. And I remember a quote that Maya Angelou said: "Aim for the hearts and not for the stars."
Oh, I like that.
Something like this. It's nice to want to be the best and the first, but in the end, we are artists, and we have to aim for the hearts and the soul of the people that they come to listen to us.
And that's why we do this, is to move hearts, to move souls, to create that art. And it's great to hear you say that. You're such an eloquent and inspirational speaker. Do you do a lot of mentorship work with young singers?
I'm not doing that professionally, but it is something that comes natural from me. I'm a person that has a deeper need to make others believe in themselves and help them be their best version. It's something that I love, and I always try to motivate young singers and make them believe in themselves.
That's a beautiful thing, and you have so much experience on these top stages that you have so much to show, and your advice will be very valuable. And maybe
I had some experience on this level. I mean, when I started um, my studies, and I won the Maria Callas scholarship, and I needed to go abroad and find a teacher in order to further my studies. I remember I first went to Vienna, and I had 5 lessons with a teacher from the University of Vienna there. And in the end of the lesson, she told me, "You have no voice, you have no talent, you have nothing. So go home and become a secretary." And
wow.
yeah, of course, I was heartbroken. And I asked her, I know that I have to work very hard. I know that I have technical problems, but don't you think there is something we can work on? And she said, "Oh, yeah, you have a scholarship, but maybe you were the best from the worst. That's why they gave that to you." She
I
was
always
very
wonder
harsh with
with
me.
people like that. You wonder if it's probably her. It's not. Probably not nothing to do with you. It's probably something in her that was a challenge. And
Yeah, but from that moment, I realized that you are the teacher and you are the student of yourself. You are the only person who knows what you are capable of doing and what you are not capable of doing. So I stopped listening the noise that came from outside, and I started listening to the inner voice that is inside of us, and it always tells you the truth, and it is always right. So as an advice, it is worth investing on this kind of work with yourself in order to find your voice, and never let people like that to tell you what you're capable of doing or not.
That's such powerful advice, and I think so many people get that type of negative feedback, and they can ruin them. I mean, they take it so personally.
Yes, of course. And I think a lot of singers, most of the singers, they go through that, and you must be very tough. This is a challenge for the artist. On the one hand, you must be very sensitive and really open your soul when you're on stage, but at the same time, you have to be really, really, how can I say, to have a
Thick
stomach
skin.
that. Exactly, thick skin.
In American, that's how you say it. So what do you see as something that your next goals as an artist? You've achieved so much. What are some things you're working on right now?
Now I'm giving my first opera singing seminar, and it starts on Wednesday.
Wow.
And I'm looking forward to it, because you learn also from teaching, and I'm very excited about this. And right after that, I'm starting my rehearsals for my new production of Rigoletto in Athens. There is a very nice open air ancient theater below Acropolis with 5,000 people, and we're going to make a new production of Rigoletto, and which was twice cancelled or postponed because of COVID.
Well,
I hope this year we will make it.
I can't imagine a better place to make classical music than in a classical venue that goes back to ancient history, that has been producing the arts for thousands of years. What an incredible opportunity.
The energy is still there, really.
And what's it like being a Greek, a native Athens person, coming back home to make music? What that must feel incredible.
It's really difficult. I feel more comfortable when I sing abroad. It's like a responsibility when you come home, but of course I enjoy it very much. But I believe that you may have sung in the best theaters in the world, but the Greeks, they always want to come back and sing also in Greece. It's really important for us.
We've had several Greek artists on this show, in contemporary as well as classical, and I'm so impressed by my Greek colleagues. It's just, I'm a huge history fanatic, and I've watched so many documentaries on ancient Greece and the impacts on culture and Western culture today. And wow, and congratulations! You just got a major award today. Tell us about your award.
It was an award here in Greece for my offer to culture. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Your impact on culture?
Yeah, exactly. And it's always nice to feel that your work is being appreciated and noticed.
Well, that's congratulations on that, and continued success.
You.
So COVID, we talked briefly about this COVID and canceling performances. Now, what was it like for you? You must be booked years in advance with a career like yours. What was it like to see all those shows get canceled and rescheduled, and how did you maintain you have a really great positive attitude? How did you maintain a positive attitude during the COVID period?
At the beginning, the first months in the first lockdown, actually for me it was good. It was convenient because I was working too much, I was traveling too much, and it was a much really needed pause for me. I enjoyed staying home because we don't have a lot of opportunities of staying at home with our families. So I enjoyed that very much. But after summer, where the second lockdown came and the performances were getting cancelled, that was too much. That was something that I started missing the stage. I started losing my identity. It was the first time in my life that I hadn't sung for so long. I was also unfortunate enough because my performances, they were total cancelled, not postponed. So it was hard. It was really hard. But in the end, um, you know, actually, I had the time to reflect on my profession, on why I'm doing what I'm doing, to connect with that feeling again, to feel the real love that I have for music and singing, but also to see what I'm doing from another angle, the angle of offer. I mean, you know, of course, we all want to achieve things for ourselves in our profession, but there is also another way of you. It's the way what you offer to your community, to the world through your profession. And I started seeing that music has a healing power, and music can help people see the world. Actually, I think artists, they have a special way to teach life, to teach how life is, and especially music that goes through the heart, and it doesn't it bypasses the conscious mind. It goes straight to the unconscious. So you can teach people a lot, you can heal people, and this is actually a responsibility that artists have. And when I started seeing it from that way of view, I felt like I gained 10 years more in my life. I don't know why.
Wow. Well, I tell everyone on the show, we've all become philosophers during the COVID period because we've had so much time.
Yeah,
When you take away the travel and the
exactly.
performances, and we never had that time before. And that's just it was such a forced
Yeah.
time to think about things. And you being such a deep thinker, I think that's really interesting to hear your perspective on that. What's something
Uh,
you learned about yourself during this period?
you know, I think that I confronted a lot of my fears, and I felt that I became much, much stronger. uh, that I felt, I thought that I was fearing some things for about myself and about my life and my professional life. But when you confront your fears, you realize that they are shadows, actually. They're not there. So I feel much stronger, and that makes me feel, like the bird, that it says the bird doesn't is it has no fear if the branch will break, because it has wings to fly.
Powerful.
So I started seeing things like this.
Wow. We have a question from the audience. What type of music do you listen to in addition to classical music when you're not working? What do you listen to? What's on your iPad or your iPod when you're not in music?
Yeah. When I was much younger, I mean, when I was in high school, because I was playing the guitar, and I learned also jazz guitar and classical guitar and acoustic guitar. And I enjoyed very much rock music and jazz music. But from the moment that I started working as a professional opera singer, I don't know, my ear has trained so much to the natural sound that I cannot listen for a long time to music that it is electric. So I listen a lot to jazz music, also some Latin music, and yeah, also some pop and mainstream music and Greek music. I believe that there is no good and bad genre of music. There is always good and bad quality in each genre, and because music uh, is very strong related to the to our lives. you know, not every moment is the same. So that's why we need different kind of musics to express the different moments in our lives.
I love that. I love that. It's true that there's, there's every genre's got good and bad and great, and I think that that's something to remember. That there's something to learn from all this music because it reflects our culture and our society.
Exactly.
And I tell my students when I teach at a university, I tell my students that the music's like an amber that captures everything in society around it and kind of crystallizes it. So when you study Mozart, you have to go back in time and learn about the Enlightenment period, the philosophy of the time that he would have been dealing with, or learn what was going on in his life when the piece was written. And I'm just always fascinated by that. And that's one of my favorite things is when you start learning about what's going on around the music, it tells you all about what was happening.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm in the with the time of COVID, I had a lot of time, so I did a course on Coursera from the University of Yale on music and society and the
Wow.
role of music in our society. And I discovered so many nice things and how we learn uh, about life, about ourselves, and about the other people, other cultures, and about the different from us through arts. That's the what the arts are giving to us on that level is really like a big school, and sometimes we don't appreciate it, we don't recognize it.
I think a lot often, like entertainment, it's like a product that they put out there and sell. But the arts really are like a mirror on society. And what makes
Exactly.
opera and classical music so enduring is these universal human themes that they portray. Even though it can be set in modern times or it can be a modern piece, the universal themes resonate back to classical times.
Exactly, yes.
And they can be just as appropriate today as they were in 1790 when they were written. I think it's powerful and it speaks to the enduring quality of the art form.
Yeah, if you imagine it that this art, this kind of music has originated so many years ago and still is here, it's amazing.
Well, it certainly is. What do you? How can people find out more about you, and where can they go to like hear your recordings and to learn more about you and your work?
So I post a lot on my Instagram account. You can find it under my name, Christina Poulitsi. Of course, I have also Facebook, and I have a web page, christinapulitsi.com. But there are a lot of videos of me at YouTube. You can listen to the Queen of the Night, to Lucia, to Amina, to a lot of rogues.
Well, you were very active on social media. I really enjoy reading your posts, and I'm amazed by the way that artists have embraced social media, especially classical artists. I think it's so important because it opens you up to an audience of a global audience, and that people really like these days. I interview a lot of indie singer-songwriters and bands, as well as musicians from the classical world, and it's really important. People want to get to know the artist, a little bit about the artist, more than just on the stage.
Exactly. I also myself, for example, I love old Hollywood movies, and but at the same time, I want to know how is the person that I admire as a person. For example, Cary Grant or Audrey Hepburn or Grace Kelly, and so I've watched a lot of documentaries about their lives because it is very interesting for me to see what kind of person is the person that I admire, because when you it is very important what we listen to and what we see, because these structures are unconscious, and our unconscious has a lot of takes a lot of part on our decision making. So it's very important what kind of people we let into our hearts through the arts.
Very powerful.
And yeah, and the social media, they give that opportunity to the people to learn more about the artists.
I just think that's a very, very powerful way for, I wonder what would like Herbert von Karajan do if he had social media, or some of these great artists of the past. Maria Callas, what would she be posting about? Wouldn't that be fascinating?
Yeah, of course. We must not always. We must keep always in like the ancient Greeks, they were saying everything in moderation. Not too much, but also it's nice, to expose a little bit of yourself.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on Music Matters today. It's been great to speak to you. You're an inspirational figure. You're doing such great work. I wish you continued success and blessings.
Thank you very much, Jason. It was a pleasure for me. And the last thing that I would like to say, it's regarding the war that now it is happening in Ukraine and the role of artists. Of course, I also believe that artists are apolitical, because music and art is is making people come closer and connect people. But when matters like this comes, that I mean about human rights and peace, there is no discussion on that matters. So artists also, I think they need to inspire people and tell publicly their opinion, that I don't accept this war, or because there was a debate about if artists should voice their opinions or not. I believe that on that kind of matters, where the human dignity and human rights are being violated, the artist must speak.
That's very powerful, and I think we've seen the same in sports. I think it's sports and art. I think it's very important that we do speak up about these injustices, and we all know artists from these countries, and it's just devastating, I heard they just closed down the Opera House in the capital city, and it's just truly heartbreaking to see that in these days we can have these problems.
Yeah, we send our thoughts and our energies, and we can all help through humanitarian organizations, just to make people feel that they're not alone.
Well, thank you for sharing that, and continued success in all that you do.
Thank you very much, Jason. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you for joining us on Music Matters with Jason Tramm. Please remember to subscribe to us on YouTube and smash that bell icon for the most up-to-date information on our upcoming guests and topics. Thank you for joining us today, and remember, keep music alive.